Jesus Christ is by far the most well-known person from ancient history, but he claimed to be much more than a mere man. He claimed to be God. When we look at the evidence, we find that his claim is true. Here are 6 reasons to believe in Jesus. Number 1, hostile witnesses that testify that he lived. You see, one primary aspect of the character of Jesus that separates him from mythological deities or mythical savior gods is the fact that his life on earth was a historic reality. He lived in time and space. Witnesses that didn't believe in Jesus, they testified to the fact that he did live. Jewish author Josephus mentioned Jesus. The Roman historian Tacitus talked about Jesus. The Roman governor Pliny the Younger mentioned Christ and Christ followers Christians, as did several other ancient sources. Jesus lived. Reason number 2, Jesus fulfilled hundreds of prophecies. There are prophecies in the Old Testament that were written hundreds or thousands of years before Jesus lived. Those prophecies talk about how the Messiah would live, talk about how the Messiah would be born, how the Messiah would die. And those prophecies, every one of them, matches perfectly the life of Jesus Christ. When we consider that some of them were written well over 1,000 years before Christ lived, that fact it's amazing, and it's valid evidence that shows that Jesus was who he claimed to be. The early Jewish community came to Christ, and many of them became Christians, and one of the primary reasons for that was that the apostles were preaching Jesus was the Christ, and they were using those prophecies that matched his life perfectly. Reason number 3, Jesus performed miracles. Jesus had power over every single aspect of life. He healed sick people. He caused blind people to see. He stilled storms, and he raised the dead. Even his enemies were forced to admit that the miracles he performed were real. No other figure in human history ever exhibited this type of ability over every aspect of life. Reason number 4, Jesus' personality was unique. The gospel accounts of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they paint a picture of Jesus that is unique in all the annals of human history. Jesus accepted worship, yet he did so without arrogance. He angrily overturned tables, yet his love for the offenders was obvious. He taught rules and laws that continue to this day to transform lives. He sacrificed his life, yet he prayed for his murderers. Jesus' personality is unique in every way. Reason number 5, Jesus rose from the dead. Jesus predicted his own death. He also predicted his own resurrection. His enemies attempted to stop his resurrection. They knew that he had said he would rise, and they stationed soldiers to keep something from happening, and yet they couldn't stop that resurrection. The resurrection was the cornerstone event that sparked the growth of the Christian religion that spread throughout the world. The resurrection is a historically valid, real-time event that was presented by Jesus and his followers with many, the text says, infallible proofs. Jesus rose. Reason number 6, Jesus' followers preached his resurrection. The early apostles saw Jesus after he rose. They testified that they heard him, touched him, and had physical evidence of his resurrection. This testimony caused them serious problems. They were tortured and persecuted for their teaching about the resurrection. Yet they continued to preach. They continued to talk about his resurrection, and ultimately they died for their testimony that Jesus Christ rose again. Jesus lived, Jesus died, and he rose again. He promised that he is coming back. It's a fact that he came the first time. Will you be ready when he comes again?